Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Tourism, Jamaica, which was 17 hours of flying overall, is to really make the statement to everybody that flying is okay, that you can fly again. It's safe to travel. You know, we've done our PCR test. This is the 4th test that I'm doing in just about a week. But it's all happening so quickly, so seamlessly, and you know, the results are quick. And so it allows us to be able to say yes, tourism and travel is back again.
And you are members of UNWTO, and the UNWTO message is very clear, is that the world must work together. We cannot have different countries or different regions doing different things. So I assume that's an important message for Jamaica.
Indeed. In fact, it is a message that has to resonate with all. And it begs some questions. One of it is, how do we achieve this? That's a big one. And achieving it is by collaborating, and achieving it is by not leaving anybody behind. So it brings a level of equity in the whole matter of arranging the tools that are necessary, the biosanitary tools. How can we make sure that the small countries, the highly dependent, less resourced countries, who are critical in all of this, and in fact they are the real source of the experiences, how do we make sure that they are not left behind? And in this whole vaccine diplomacy and vaccine politics that is raging now, where nationalism is taking the front seat, and there's less talk about how do we really collaborate. We're seeing that 1.7 billion doses have so far been given to the world. That's 5.1% of the world. But that doesn't tell the real story. The real story is that less than 1% of the countries of the world have had a second dose at the level of 30% or more. It also tells another story, that 3 countries have literally cornered the majority of that, and in one case 131 million people have had a second dose, while there are 60 countries that are still to get 1% dosage for the first time. So these are real issues if we are going to start together and if we're going to recover in an equitable way. But if we don't, it is going to spell danger, and it is going to cause a humanitarian tragedy that is probably worse than the pandemic. And this is a big point that we need to understand. And I think tourism is a strong voice, and we must make that voice heard, you know, in the powers that matter, that recovery cannot be meaningful. It will be a fleeting illusion, as Bob Marley says, to be pursued but never attained, unless there's equity, and unless the big boys who have the resources are able to enable the smaller guys who have no resources to be able to be healthy too.
Wonderful, very good point, Minister. One last question. Can you tell us about what's happening at the moment in terms of recovery, tourism, vaccination in your own country and the broader Caribbean region?
Well, in my own country, we have been working very hard at following the protocols, comporting with the key protocols. You know, social distancing, wearing a mask, you know, the touchless technology arrangements to enable more of the reduction in the transmission of the disease, since in fact the vector is a human being. So we've been using the quarantine, the lockdown, so to speak, as they call it, and we are also looking at closing borders here, opening borders there to countries. The good news, however, is that we opened our borders on the 15th of June and we've not closed it. We've had variations in terms of how the numbers go, because we manage by science and data. And as those numbers and science improve, then we also relax our restrictions. Since the year, we've had just a little over 400,000 visitors. But of course, that's about 30–40% of what we normally do. But we're growing, and that's good. But there's a second and important part, where the collaboration is concerned, and that's for the region, the Caribbean region. And we're working now with the Dominican Republic, Cuba, Mexico, Panama, 5 of us, in creating a Caribbean passport arrangement that allows for multi-destination tourism, but it also is going to create an opportunity for visitors who, particularly those from the long-haul destinations, coming into our space, can have multiple destination experiences with a package that offers a single price and an opportunity to move from one country to the other seamlessly to enjoy touristic endeavors. So this is important because what it is doing, it is saying that we can converge our interests. We could put aside our competitiveness and we can collaborate. And we could do something else. We can, what they call co-petition. We could engage in co-petition rather than competition. I think that will be a big part of the whole recovery program. The world needs to look to that, and we will be able then to find a common way. And we need these common tools. But the equity that must give us the common tools has to be there. Because there's no way I can ask for a single passport for a country that has no vaccination, from a country that doesn't understand how to even deal with the basics of health because they don't have the resources. So we have to work together, and those who have it must be able to pass on. The last thing I want to say on it is the whole business of patents and the liberalization of manufacturing rights to a larger number of countries so that more of the vaccine can be manufactured by a wider group of competent and qualified and technologically capable and efficient manufacturing entities. And so we have to make our voice heard on that. We have to call for this liberalization so that the patents cannot be stuck into one country, but the use of it can be available in many, many other countries where manufacturing capabilities exist. In that way, we'll have far more vaccines available.
Good afternoon from Düsseldorf, Germany. Today is the first day in Düsseldorf where it's a sunny night and bars and restaurants are open to serve people outside. So you can see what it did for the Old Town. The Old Town is known as the longest bar in the world, with bars and restaurants for miles, and people are out there. Social distancing, even though it was required to wear masks in the city, you can see with the amount of alcohol floating, this rule was very bent and weak. However, everyone who is sitting in a restaurant or sitting in a bar outside, you cannot go inside, has to have either a test they need to show, and their testing centers, you can get a test instantly, or it has to be fully vaccinated. So it seems to be working. People have a great time and have fun, and people are thirsty and ready to enjoy a day off from the virus. So let's see how it goes 2 weeks from now, if the numbers are going up or if it was a safe thing to do. It'll be interesting to find out. Enjoy the footage.
Das ist auch vielleicht ein bisschen übertrieben, aber kann lachen.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, joining you from Livestream.com and eTurboNews in Honolulu. And with me, as always, is Dr. Peter Tarlow in Texas. And we have a guest, and this guest really doesn't need a lot of introduction. It's Dr. Talib Rifai, joining us from Jordan. I know we always start with the weather report, but I'm not in Hawaii today. I'm actually in Cologne, Germany, where it has been a nice day. It's cold. It's about 50, 45, 9 degrees Celsius, and the city is under lockdown still. The COVID very much present here. And well, let's start with our guest, Dr. Talib Rifai, former Secretary General of UNWTO. How's the weather in Jordan and how's everything going on?
It's beautiful. The weather is beautiful here in Jordan, but the COVID situation is still something to challenge us all. I believe that we are in a situation like the rest of the world.
Right. Now, when you look at the rest of the world, looking from the eye of a former Secretary General, what is in your crystal ball? I mean, tourism seems to be opening in some parts, like in Hawaii, where I live, it's
certainly in Texas, it's very open.
The U.S.
Dubai also.
Up, I just came back from Dubai, and the Arabian travel market, we can talk a little bit about later, is opened up in full force, and conferences are going on. And then there are other parts of the world, like here in Germany, where things are very much closed, the borders are closed. How do you? And then we have India. We don't even want to mention India because it's so bad. So I don't know, where's this world heading, Taleb?
I think the problem is that each government is working on its own now still. I said that before, and I want to repeat it again here with you. I think unless the world works together, from regional to international, we're not going to get anywhere. It's not important what each country does on its own. Dubai can do well. Hawaii can do well. Texas can do well. But if the rest of the world can't come to Texas, or Texas cannot go to the rest of the world, there is no need in that. There is no usefulness in this. Travel is about linking people and places together. So unless governments work together, that's what governments don't understand yet. They need to come up with a certain protocol, harmonized protocol.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Taleb, for those words. Part of the problem, I was not very far away in Mexico, Europe, but I had to go through 2 set of tests to be able to get back to the United States. And that was a lot of hassle. It would have been a lot easier if there had been a chip or something in my passport saying that I had already been vaccinated, rather than have to prove it each time. And I think very often we've turned travel into an obstacle course, and we need to go beyond that. So there are parts of the world that are being successful, others that are less successful, but we need to have a general concept around the world of at least standardizations of what counts as being vaccinated.
A minimum.
Yes,
procedure and agreement.
Exactly. And can you take an acceptable test someplace that's accepted someplace else? And